From the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8.
Now, the latest news.
Kylie Conway has the latest news. The top headlines. News you can use.
Please stand by.
Sponsored by LCS Heating and Cooling. Now, here's Wish TV's Kylie Conway.
Hi, this is Kylie Conway, and this is the News 8 Daily 8 for Friday, June 4th. A beautiful Friday to kickstart the weekend. Sunshine moves in, and we'll get pretty warm with highs in the low to mid 80s. We're going to stay dry and warm through the weekend with highs close to 90 for your Sunday. The CDC director is pushing for more teenagers and adolescents to receive a COVID-19 vaccine. She's citing new case numbers coming out today. It's a little cryptic since we don't have the numbers yet ourselves, but Dr. Rochelle Walensky says this week's CDC report will force us to redouble our motivation to get our adolescents and young adults vaccinated. That could mean teens are getting sick and getting seriously sick. She said this about a month leading up to May before the Pfizer vaccine was available to teenagers.
CDC observed troubling data regarding the hospitalizations of adolescents with COVID-19. More concerning were the number of adolescents admitted to the hospital who required treatment in the intensive care unit with mechanical ventilation.
She's already calling for teens to get vaccinated and for parents with questions to talk to their child's doctor, local pharmacists, or local health departments. We should get that CDC report sometime today, but we do have recent numbers in Indiana. Two of the highest age groups getting sick in Indiana are infants to age 19 and people in their 20s. Together, they make up about 34% of new daily cases. Virus deaths still follow the documented trend of affecting those 60 and up the most. Child deaths happen, but account for 0.1% of daily deaths. You can get a vaccine at Riley Hospital for Children, by the way. Its Pfizer vaccine clinic opened to children 12 and up last month. You must have an appointment, and the next available is Wednesday. For those wondering when the vaccine will be available to those younger than 12, Dr. Anthony Fauci says he's cautiously optimistic it'll be available by the end of the year. A group of realtors is asking the Supreme Court to take emergency action to block the CDC's eviction moratorium. The group argues that Congress never gave the CDC the staggering amount of power it now claims. The current moratorium ends June 30th. It prevents landlords from evicting tenants who can't pay rent during the pandemic. A district court previously ruled the moratorium was unlawful, but the ruling has been on hold due to a pending appeal. Also new this morning, plans are set for a large vaccination push on the west side of Indianapolis. Several churches are teaming up with the county health department. Friendship Missionary Baptist Church on Goodlet Avenue will host it from 12 to 4. You'll be able to get the Moderna or Johnson & Johnson version and a $10 gift card. Walk-ins are welcome. If you choose Moderna, the second dose will be available July 10th. A controversial ruling in California on COVID-19. If anyone in a workplace is not vaccinated, all colleagues must wear masks when in the same room. The California Occupational Safety and Health Standards Board approved the rule last night. It originally rejected it. The board says it ended up adopting revised rules so employers could make decisions on things like masks and social distancing. According to the board, the new regulations are only in effect while they consider easing pandemic restrictions further in the coming weeks or months. The United States is preparing to ship out millions of COVID-19 vaccines around the world. The Biden administration says 25 million doses will be going out soon. The White House hopes to share at least 80 million doses by the end of the month. The National Security Advisor explained where many of the vials will go.
We're sharing them in a wide range of countries within Latin America and the Caribbean, South and Southeast Asia, and across Africa in coordination with the African Union.
The Biden administration hopes sharing vaccines with other countries can help the pandemic end sooner. An important hearing is now set in a lawsuit pitting the governor against state lawmakers. Governor Holcomb is trying to block a new state law that gives the General Assembly a way to quickly override a governor's orders during a public health emergency. June 16th, 2 weeks from today, a judge will consider whether Indiana's Attorney General, Todd Rokita, can prevent Holcomb from using his own attorneys in the suit. If the judge rules in Rokita's favor, Holcomb's case may end because Rokita has signaled he supports the new law. And today is National Gun Violence Awareness Day. The day serves to remember lives lost to gun violence and to raise awareness about the public health crisis. Volunteers with the Indiana chapter of Moms Demand Action, in partnership with the Everytown for Gun Safety Support Fund, will host a Wear Orange event to honor the lives of those affected by gun violence and elevate gun violence prevention efforts nationwide. And there's a new plan to address crime in Indianapolis. The city's homicide rate is soaring. Mayor Joe Hogsett is directing $2 million toward creating and expanding community-based programs. So the numbers are here as follows, kind of breaking down where all of that money will go. $370,000 to domestic violence reduction, $350,000 to boost mental health infrastructure, $390,000 to juvenile intervention, and $680,000 to expand staffing at the Assessment and Intervention Center. $1.5 million will go toward law enforcement technology. Hogsett says these new initiatives will get to the root causes of violence.
To that end, we must commit ourselves to addressing head-on the underlying issues driving much of the violence that we see today.
The plan still needs to be approved by the City County Council. Hogsett says he plans to send it to the council's Public Safety Committee first. That means it could be early July before the council actually looks at the funding plan. A third victim is dead after a mass shooting outside of a banquet hall and billiards club in Florida. That's according to Miami-Dade police. Officers say at least 20 more people were wounded in the shooting. According to police, it happened early Sunday when 3 people jumped out of an SUV and started firing. The shooters have not been found. $130,000 in rewards have been offered to anyone who can find them. Police across central Indiana are searching for a woman from Morgan County. They say she may be in extreme danger. Morgantown police say she has diminished capacity and walked away from the Morgan Healthcare Inn nursing home on Washington Street early yesterday evening. Her name is Hazel Ellis. She's 5'5", 110 pounds, and was last seen wearing a gray hoodie and black leggings. Her disappearance is now the subject of a statewide silver alert. This is as of 6:30 a.m. on Friday morning, that silver alert. So check, if you're listening to this after that, check on wishtv.com and check on our Facebook pages to see if she has been found. In Fort Wayne, authorities are releasing some of the grim details about a quadruple murder. Police say the man accused, Cohen Hanks Barron, escaped home detention in Lafayette, then killed 3 children and his girlfriend. The coroner released the names, 26-year-old Sarah Zent and 5-year-old Carter, 3-year-old Ashton, and 2-year-old Aubrey Zent. Police say they'd all been stabbed. Happened Wednesday in an apartment in downtown Fort Wayne. Officials say they found Hanks Barron in Lafayette. He's now in the Allen County Jail without bond, facing 4 counts of murder. The Department of Justice is taking a tough stance on cyber attacks. The DOJ says it plans to go after ransomware with the same protocols used for terrorism. In recent weeks, cyber attacks have disrupted industries from gasoline to meat packing. Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco issued an internal memo yesterday directing prosecutors to report all ransomware investigations they may be working on. The memo calls ransomware an urgent threat to the country. It also requires prosecutors to file an internal report about any ransomware incident that they hear about. And this morning, the White House is urging private companies to make changes related to cyber attacks. The National Security Council's top cyber official wrote an open letter to business leaders asking them to ramp up their online security. The White House says it cannot do this alone, and private companies need to step up.
They really are in an impossible position. I think the way that we really get after this is to basically start focusing on these adversaries. The government is going to have to step up and find ways to put pressure on these criminals.
The Biden administration says it communicated an expectation to Russia that its government cracks down on cyber criminals there. And as we've talked about, the president does plan to discuss cybercrime with Vladimir Putin when they meet later this month. And today, the White House hosts a critical meeting on infrastructure. President Biden and Senator Shelley Moore Capito are talking for the second time this week with a new proposal on the table. Biden now says a 15% minimum corporate tax can pay for his infrastructure plan. That's significantly lower from his original proposal to raise the corporate tax rate to 28%. The president is also open to getting the funding from stricter IRS enforcement of unpaid taxes. His newest offer now asks for $1 trillion in infrastructure spending compared to his initial proposal of $2.3 trillion. Former Vice President Mike Pence is revealing an area of disagreement between him and former President Trump. Pence says the two have very different views of the riot that unfolded at the U.S. Capitol in January. He spoke last night in New Hampshire.
That same day, we reconvened the Congress and did our duty under the Constitution and the laws of the United States. You know, President Trump and I have spoken many times since we left office. And I don't know if we'll ever see eye to eye on that day.
Pence praised Trump several times during the 35-minute speech. The former Indiana governor says he is proud of the accomplishments of the Trump administration. And no evidence of alien spacecraft. The New York Times reports that is the main takeaway from a U.S. intelligence report looking into unidentified flying objects that U.S. Navy pilots have encountered. The paper sharing the findings of the report early. Congress will get an unclassified version of the report later this month. According to the Times, U.S. intelligence officials have not been able to reach a clear conclusion about the flying objects. The only thing that they have determined is that they are not American-made. Officials are also not ruling out the possibility the craft came from countries like China or Russia. The report looked at more than 120 incidents involving unidentified flying objects. At least 10% of the world's giant sequoia trees have been destroyed. That's according to a National Park Service report. It says up to 10,000 of the trees were lost in the Castle Fire at California's Sequoia National Forest last summer. The fire burned 174,000 acres after a lightning storm sparked dry brush. The preliminary findings have yet to be peer-reviewed. The final report is expected to be released in the next several weeks. And apparently the buzz of cicadas can be bad for man's best friend. Have you seen them around? Oh, beyond the noise and annoyance, apparently dogs like them, think that they're pretty tasty. Veterinarians say dog owners should be worried about this, maybe be on alert, just checking things out. A vet in Fisher says she's seeing a lot of dogs eating the cicadas. Thankfully, doctors say they're not toxic, but if dogs eat too many, they can get sick. Here's Hannah Mordeau.
Hi, Stephanie. Hi, Seamus. Seamus the lab is 9 years old and loves to eat everything.
Now that the cicadas are there, right to the cicadas.
Yes, this pup thinks these bugs are the best delicacy.
They want to keep snacking on the cicadas.
Seamus's owner,
I know,
Stephanie O'Brien,
it is gross.
lives in Lawrence and says her house is swarmed with cicadas. So she's having a hard time stopping her dogs from eating the crunchy critters.
Unfortunately, the dogs are just trying to eat them constantly.
I've had 2 dogs that have had diarrhea that has had to have medical intervention because of the amount of cicada shells they've eaten.
Dr. Erin Smith is a veterinarian at Log Cabin Animal Hospital in Fishers.
Calls from our clients has picked up significantly in the last few days.
She says the cicadas are an issue, but aren't dangerous.
The cicadas themselves are not toxic, but the problem is the exoskeleton shell is not digestible. So if they're eating tons of them, they're getting diarrhea, some vomiting. They just may feel kind of puny with an upset belly.
Plus, if your dog seems to like the bugs, Dr. Smith says you might need to keep them on a tight leash and stick to walks for a little while.
Those are really tempting, crunchy little treats for the dogs. So if you are seeing your dog eating it, you can't leave them in the yard unattended. You'll have to be out there with them or leash walk them for the next month just to make sure they're not ingesting too many.
She says cats may be interested in the bugs too, but likely won't eat them. Still, for dogs like Seamus,
He has been eating so many, Dr. Erin, though.
it means a cicada cutoff and an owner eager to say goodbye to these bugs.
I'm hoping somebody will tell me when they're going to go.
Again, that was Hannah Mordeau reporting. And as she says, it sounds pretty gross, but Dr. Smith says pet owners should keep an eye on their dog's stool. Look out for cicada shells. Ew. Also, if your dog has diarrhea, is puking, or lethargic, that might be a sign that they're eating the bugs. Okay, to less gross news here. Actually pretty fun and cool. A large development is opening just north of the Mass Ave Cultural District. Sten's Construction has invested $25 million into the Box Factory building. The facility used to house the U.S. Corrugated Box Company, and it'll soon become the home to several new tenants, including a fitness center and a cafe. The first tenant to get started at the new facility is law firm Lewis Wagner. So here you're going to hear from the rock climbing gym / bar owner. You're going to hear from developers and just about kind of what is now and what they think is to come.
This is the perfect location, honestly. I think with all the investment that's going on in the North Mass district, this is exactly where we want to be. I wouldn't want to be in any other place in the city.
We've always felt like this is sort of the
the first project of many in this area.
I think it's going to be another hip area of town.
I think it's just going to keep growing. It's going to look completely different with development. We really feel like the epicenter of downtown is shifting out to the northeast along Mass Ave.
Several of the other businesses coming to the facility echoed their feelings, saying they think the area will just keep growing. And today at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway preps for Brickyard Weekend. We're expecting to learn what the August event entails. Leaders at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway plan to share the details about the new IndyCar Series race as well. You may remember last year when NASCAR's Brickyard 400 ran the same weekend as the Indiana Grand Prix. The Grand Prix moved to July because of the pandemic. This year, there'll be a triple header with NASCAR and IndyCar during the second weekend of August. Two teams from Indiana begin their journey to the College World Series. Notre Dame and Indiana State both play their first games in their regional. The Fighting Irish will play Central Michigan in South Bend, while the Sycamores will go up against Georgia Tech in Nashville. First pitch for both games is at 1 o'clock this afternoon. And finally, to business headlines. Wall Street and Washington are closely watching today's May jobs report. Economists surveyed by Refinitiv expect Friday's report to show the economy adding 650,000 non-farm jobs and the unemployment rate falling to 5.9%. The April report was a huge disappointment, so market watchers are bracing for any surprises. Eateries in several states, including Florida, Texas, Nevada, and Virginia, all saw at least a 10% increase in bookings on Memorial Day compared to the same day 2 years prior, while the number of restaurant goers in New York State remained 34% lower. That's according to data from restaurant booking and monitoring site OpenTable. Even restaurants in hard-hit California and Florida served more diners Monday than they did on the same day in 2019. That's according to that data. Boeing plans to test whether blasts of air could prevent germs and viruses like COVID-19 from circulating between rows of jetliner passengers as part of a broader initiative to make air travel safer and greener. The plane maker is installing 20 overhead air vents with special 3D printed nozzles to create a curtain of air in a new 737 MAX 9 jet. Meat production in the U.S. is climbing back toward normal levels, with the government pressing other companies to boost output while JBS meat plants recover from last weekend's cyber attack. Cattle slaughtering in the U.S. had essentially returned to normal Thursday, with 120,000 head slaughtered, just 1,000 less than a week earlier, and that's according to the U.S. Agriculture Department. And McDonald's is testing out voice ordering technology at drive-thrus in Chicago as restaurants across the country look to automation to reduce labor costs. McDonald's is piloting the automated tech at around 10 drive-thrus in the Chicago area, and the computer's taking orders for Big Macs and fries is apparently getting orders right 85% of the time and can take about 80% of customer orders. Have a great weekend, everybody. This has been your News 8 Daily 8 for Wish TV. I'm Kylie Conway, online at wishtv.com, and follow us on Facebook when you search Wish TV.
The News 8 Daily 8 is sponsored by LCS Heating and Cooling. Be sure to like and subscribe to this podcast, The News 8 Daily 8 with Kylie Conway. And be sure to discover even more great podcasts now at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.